So hello everybody, I'm Fable, and I'm going to be teaching you guys how to animate in Clip Studio Paint EX. The main thing that you need to know about the differences between Clip Studio Paint EX and Clip Studio Paint Pro is that Pro has two restrictions that differentiate it from EX. One is that it does not have story management software, which you can find up here. If I open up a comic, you will find that there's a window type called story management. That's not relevant to what we're doing right now. The other thing that is relevant is that when you want to make an animation in Clip Studio Paint Pro, you are limited to 24 frames, whereas Clip Studio Paint EX does not limit you at all. You can have stuff be as long as you want. Excuse me. The other thing I want to say is that I don't know everything about how to use this tool. I'm basically giving kind of a quick rundown to help people get into the program themselves. There's some features that I'm not familiar with, simply because the features are kind of new and there's not enough people really digging into them and giving tutorials online. That's one reason why I have this, why I'm creating this tutorial right now for you guys. But I'm hoping to give you enough knowledge that you can kind of dig into it more yourself, and hopefully more people can start creating more tutorials for finding other people's knowledge, and then we'll all learn together. Other things that I'm not going to be going over, I'm not going to be going over Clip Studio basics. This is assuming that you know how to use Clip Studio in general. And I'm not going to go over animation basics because that's another category. You will see me using animation basics, and I might talk about them lightly. However, if you want to learn more about how to animate, I recommend looking up animation books, like the Animator Survival Guide is really good, or just practicing, honestly. Practicing with Clip Studio is good because it's a very inexpensive program with a lot of features that make it very easy to animate. But you can also practice with like post-it notes or index cards, or doing stop motion with like toys and stuff. So if you want to learn how to animate, the answer is really to go and animate. So this is not about learning how to animate specifically, this is more just about learning this tool. So the first thing that we're going to go into is the timeline here. So we click that. This is the timeline. You notice right now that it's completely blank. This is because there is no timeline currently in here. We have a layer, of course, here. And if I say, if I draw, say, let's say a little dude. So here's a little dude. You know, here's your normal layer window. You know, if I turn the layer on and off, he's invisible, he's not invisible. But right now there's no animation. This is just a still image. So if we want to make an animation, what we're going to want to do is create a timeline. Okay, so first thing you need to know is that we have here the timeline window. The timeline window displays everything in chronological order. The first thing you want to do is click New Timeline, and you want to choose the frame rate. You can see here it has like a couple suggested frame rates. You can type in your own as well. I like to work at 24 frames per second because that's standard for animation. Pretty much in the professional world, you're always going to be working at 24 frames per second. Some, video will sometimes be set to 29.97, which is, I guess, sort of 30 frames per second, but there's some weird math going on there. Some people like to animate at 12 frames per second. None of that's really relevant. I always recommend just sticking to 24 because that's the general standard. Playback time is just how many frames there are. Scene number, cut number, division line, these are just like ways of kind of splitting up your timeline so you can understand it better. Here you can see frame number starting from 0, starting for 1, seconds in frame, time code. These don't really matter for what we're doing. And I don't care about the name. It's just timeline 1 is fine for our purposes. So, as you can see here, we have created a timeline. Suddenly there's numbers on here. There wasn't any numbers before. They go from 0 or 1 all the way up to wherever over here. There's negatives over here. But you see here these two blue handles describe the length of time that our timeline exists in. So it goes from 1 to 32 frames. But there's no animation. So we click and we drag this at the top gray part here. We click and we drag this little red bar, and it'll like scrub through different frames, and you can see that it changes its number as it goes through, but nothing's happening. You know, so how do we make this little guy here do dance or something? Well, he's not animated. We see layer 1 right here. Here's layer 1. Here's paper. So we go, okay, so what do? Do we just like make another layer? So I make another layer and okay, let's try to draw on top maybe? Well, that doesn't look right and doesn't seem to animate, and you know, it's just the same as that one. Well, clearly something's wrong. Now, what you need to do is go over here. This is the new animation folder. So we can click that, and this thing called folder 1:0 pops up. Okay. Alright, so what does that do? This animation folder is going to hold all of our cells. Cells are keyframes in Clip Studio. I believe the naming scheme is derived from how the Japanese tend to animate. They call them cells. Animation cell is a term that is used in Western animation, but it generally refers to that clear see-through cell in which like characters are painted on, and then those things sell for like a ton of money or practically nothing depending on what production you're talking about. But I think they were translating it over from how the Japanese use their terminology in their animation programs, and so it's called cell here. But yeah, it's basically the same as keyframe. So you just hit new animation cell, and oh my goodness, there's a 1, and it's within this folder thing. Now our layer, see if we make a normal layer, let's drag this out of that. If we make no normal layer, you see it doesn't have any 1 or anything. It has no cells. But the folder does. So let's draw our little guy. Smiley. Okay. I know it's not the best character ever, but that doesn't matter. The point is we are going to get this guy moving. So the faster the better. It's like, okay. He's there, and if I scrub the playhead around, he's not moving any. So how do we get him to move? So what we're going to do is we're going to create another cell. And to do that, we take our playhead, and we can move it forward, and then we can say, hit new animation cell. Oh! What happened? He disappeared. Now what happened is that he's over here. He's still here, okay? But as we scrub past 1, because this whole space describes 1, into 2, he's gone. That's because now we're on a new animation cell. And if we say, like, draw something random, like, here's a dog. Again, it's not good, but you guys know I can draw better than this. It's not important for this tutorial. But I'm picky, so let's give him pointy ears. That's a better silhouette. Yeah, let's make him smile. Okay, cool. Alright, so now it's a dog. But here it's a person. So as you scrub through, 1 is person, 2 is dog. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I mean, like, you could kind of turn the animation is like your personal sketchbook, but you know, that's not really playable. And watch as we play this. That looks odd. But you get the picture. So I'm going to delete that. I just cleared it. Okay, so if he's missing here, how do we know like where to draw him appropriately so he doesn't like go? Yeah, he's right here exactly, right? I was like, well, no, those don't match. That's a little funky. Get some pretty interesting experimental animation going on there, but you know that's probably not what most people want. So clearing that, we're going to turn on onion skin right here. Enable onion skin. Hey, look at that! We can see the guy. Wow, it is the future. So this guy is blue because it colorizes the prior animation as blue, so that we can understand this is before. And if we make another cell over here and say, okay, over here, and go back to 2, it's green. So we know that blue is before and green is after. This helps us like kind of understand where to better like draw the in-between. So check that out. Let's turn off onion skin so that we can see this a little better. Oh, look at that, he's moving. You know, this looks like he's dancing weakly. So let's keep this even simpler. Let's just kind of trace this guy. Okay. Let's make him talk. This one. Whoa! Oh, he's really excited about being animated, huh? Yeah, he sure is. Okay, let's make another one here. Okay. Clean that up. I'm being really rough here. This is not good draftsmanship, but you know, it's fine. Again, this is just for learning the tool. Okay, so that's something. Let's play that. Here is, by the way, here is your navigation. You go to previous frame like this, and it'll like gently step through. Or you can play it, or you can go like, go to beginning, go to end. It will do that. It'll like warp to the beginning of your timeline or the end. Yeah, that's boring. Alright, so let's play it, because that's the interesting thing. Wow, look at him go. He's doing it! He's doing the thing. He's doing the thing, and like he's moving every, let's see, 6, 7, yeah, that's 6 frames or so. So that's pretty slow. He holds quite a while over here, doesn't he though? So we want to trim off this end, huh? Now we can do this by grabbing the end here and dragging it. And then, hey, you know, now it's trimmed, right? Yeah? Oh, now there's a blank spot though. Well, that's no good. Notice how it goes blank immediately after you do this. So let's just drag that back to where it was. So if we grab the blue handle here instead and drag it over here, it's just cutting off the folder, it's cutting off the frame. And it'll go right back to there, so. Now these are pretty even. That's okay. But maybe we want him to babble a little faster. So to do that, let's take 2. Click and grab that. And if you drag, as you've clicked it, you notice that the little red thing shows up where you're going to end up putting it. So let's make this every 2 frames instead. He's talking. We'll just move everything over. Let's shorten this. Well, look, he's actually like babbling in a way that looks better. It's a little smoother now. So that's not too bad. If I want to grab more than 1 frame at once, you got to hold down Shift and click, and then you click and drag, and it'll move all of them at once. Bop 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 bop. So that's pretty funny. All right. Now let's say I wanted to add another frame, and I want that frame to be the same as 2 here. Now what do? You can right click and you can see all the frames that you've done for this animation folder are available here for you to pick from. So if I just click 2, then it automatically inserts frame 2 in there. So check that out. Yeah. Now watch, if you go to 2 and say, let's just make his eyes bright blue. Yeah, because that's a really obvious difference. But they're black in all the other frames. But watch this. Whoa. Yeah? Yeah? See, if you edit this 2, it will edit this 2 as well. So I can erase his eyes and he'll actually, like, in both 2 frames, he will not have eyes. Let's make him blink for fun. Now he blinks. That's kind of cool. Alright, so that's fun. What if we want to duplicate a frame, but we don't want to have it be actually like the same 2? So, you notice over here, it in the layers panel, it just says 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't have another 2 above the 4. You know, let's say we want our fella here to, like, we want this 2 to be unique. So what we do is we duplicate this layer, okay? For consistency's sake, I'm going to move it up here. And then we just right-click on this cell and choose 2A. Let's say you don't like the name 2A. You can always rename this. Name it 5. 5, not 6. I can count. Like it's renamed to 5 here as well. Okay, so now this is different than this. So if we go like, maybe he's like, yeah, it's dead. Or he's like, oh. Now it's different. So that's pretty cool. Alright. Okay, that's fun. But what if we want to, like, say we're sticking a new cell here, and we want to refer to this guy back here, but notice if we turn on onion skinning, it doesn't show this frame, it just shows the previous frame. Because it's onion scanning anything ahead of it. It doesn't acknowledge, like, frame 1 back here is going to be, like, actually the next frame. So what you want to do, in this case, go to Window, Animation Cells. Let's click on one. And right-click here. Fix current animation cell's editing target. Alright, so what does that do? Well, now when you go to 6, let's turn on scanning, it's he's there. He's there. Watch, we know he's there. He's got shoes now. You can lower his opacity or raise it depending on what you want. But now it's a lot more understandable. Now use him as a reference. Turn on onion skinning. We'll just kind of do a rough in-between. That's a funny face. That way, we're not like in a lurch when we're trying to figure out, like, what does that first frame look like, and we can keep things kind of consistent. So now we play it. And it loops convincingly. So that's pretty cool. Yeah? Yeah, I like that. Okay. If you don't want number 1 here to be a reference layer anymore, you can always go in and go here. You can deregister it. Apparently it doesn't want to behave. Select and register. That's not what I want. You can unenable the light table. And he's gone. You can also you do fix current animation cell's editing target. If you go back in, you can unselect it to get him taken off. And you can always, you don't have to use one either. You can use like any cell to do the same thing. And it works. It's kind of like, this is like your uber onion skin window for usefulness. That over here is your rough and dirty onion skin window. But yeah, this animation cells window is strange. It has its uses. It seems to have a lot more uses than I've been able to go into yet, but that's for someone else to figure out. So we'll turn that off. Okay, so that's pretty cool. We've already created like this tiny little animation of a dude. It's pretty awesome. Very entertaining. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing is something that I personally like to do whenever I'm working, which is setting up hotkeys. Alright, so, and this will help you animate faster without having to think, because you don't want to go through each time you want to make a new frame, go like new animation cell, new animation cell, new animation cell. I mean, this will get like really tedious after a while. If you have to like stop drawing, you like stop drawing and go back and you like click, click, That's like a lot of moving back and forth. You don't want to do that. Okay. We'll delete this guy. Let's make a new folder. We'll make a new cell real quick just to fill it in. Okay, so instead what you want to do, if you go into File, you go to Shortcut Settings, you go to the main menu area, not Option, Tool, or Auto Action. You want main menu in the Shortcut Settings. Go to Animation, and here's two features. There's actually three features you're going to want. There's Select Previous Cell and Select Next Cell. And there's also New Animation Cell. These are three more my most important features for me. You're probably not going to be making animation folders often enough to need a hotkey for this, but these are really important because you're going to be doing a lot of this. Okay, I have mine set to A and D and Q, so that my hand doesn't have to move very much. When you have a QWERTY keyboard, your fingers don't have to move around very much if you're doing A, D, Q. If you're like, oh, but I have something else already set to these particular letters, don't worry about it. You choose what works for you. Hotkeys are useful just to be able to quickly hit a button and get the tool or the action that you need, but almost any program is going to allow you to set your shortcuts the way you want it. Do what's comfortable for you. My logic is just I don't want to move my hand around too much. Like, I don't want to hit the arrow keys because that's going to involve me taking my left hand and crossing it over my body and like intersecting with my elbow. I don't want to do that. So I keep it to just the general like home key range. It's going to be easier. You can set your other shortcuts, set your other brushes or whatever eraser tool to other buttons if you're afraid of hitting those. And of course, to do that, you just do the exact same thing. Shortcut. You can hit whatever. Select, reselect. There you go. So for me, I have here one animation cell. Let's just say, let's draw that dog. Stick dog. He's a stick. Okay. So let's skip 2 frames ahead. Hit Q. Stick dog is gone. Alright. Now I could turn on onion skinning, which is fine. You know, that's fine. But maybe what I want to do is I want to do sit dog, this stick dog kind of like transitioning into a sit. So I got frame 1 here, frame 2 here. We'll turn on onion skinning just so I can like make sure I get the volumes roughly correct. They're not very correct, but again, this is fine. Just for the sake of this tutorial, this will work. Move you down a little bit. So he's gonna sit. Okay, so let's give a little bit more space between these 2 frames. And I think 12 should be enough. Okay. Get a little more cushioning. So this key just kind of snaps there. We're going to want to do an in-between, which is creating another animation frame right in between these. And we can create a new frame and just draw it exactly in between. Like, here's this leg here, here's this leg here. So, mathematically, the leg would be here if they're, like, perfectly in the middle. And then, everything mathematically correct. This eye here, there. This one's here, there. If this is math, then this ear would be there, and that ear would be there, and let's see how that looks. Ugh. That doesn't look natural. So why is that? Why does that not look natural? Well, that's because we were paying more attention to literally being in between everything than what this actually looks like as you scrub. You can see that in between does not look like that or that. Like the legs change proportion, the eyes are strange. It's also like way too even. So we don't want that. So let's clear this guy. Now what I like to do, this is kind of what the old school guys did, is they would literally take a piece of paper. So they'd have like the frame they're working on here and the frame they're working on here, which I'm coloring blue just to show you guys. And say the one that they're going to be doing in between on is here. And they would just like flip back and forth between these two until their eyeball kind of figured they were like, okay, it feels good if the head is like more here rather than here or something. So that's what old school, traditionally done on paper animators would do. You can achieve this same effect of like figuring out, like, my brain says that the head should go here by literally flipping back and forth. So this is why I said create shortcut settings for your previous cell and next cell, because then you can do this instead of going like this. That way you can keep your brush on canvas still, not have to move it around. All you have to do is concentrate. It's like, where's that head? Okay, so flipping back and forth. Let's say, yeah, already when you put one line down, you see it's like now you have kind of a reference point to work off of. So his foot's there. He's bending his leg. Still doesn't look right. This is what I get for doing a little stick dog that doesn't have real anatomy. Shame on me. His tail really ought to be here. Apparently his tail's the wrong length here. Let's cut that back. So flipping back and forth, you can get something that starts to feel a little bit more natural. The nice thing about digital is I can be like, no, I want this leg here. Adjust things. These feet are not in the right spot. I think I wanted him to lift his foot before he puts it down. Put one leg here so that he looks like he's okay. This is one reason I like the Clip Studio animation tools, is that it just flips to the next keyframe, the cell, instead of going to the next actual frame, because that's not useful to an animator. I want to see how long the frame lasts, sure, but I just want to flip to the next one. Okay. Now he sits. That's a bit more comfortable than the last version. Now for folks who aren't animators, maybe you're going like, I still don't see the point, but anybody who does animate, you can be like, wait, I don't have to do scrubby scrubby? or clicky clicky. None of this to see finally get to the next frame. It's like, no, you can automatically flip to it. So that's great. So let's do a little. Oop, not what I want. That's funny, it gave it a bad name. Let's just call you B for right now. And we'll quickly animate this. This is going to be rough and bad, but you know, again, this is just to show the next thing that I find kind of neat in Clip Studio. So we'll just get a rough and dirty working animation. Okay. Where's your tail, bro? This is also a better method for making sure that your volumes are consistent, because your brain's actually a lot better at figuring out like what the consistency of volumes ought to be than if you turn this on and kind of plug away without thinking. You want to be thinking at all times when you're animating, but a lot of what you're thinking about is kind of instinctual, so you want to kind of tap into that. So let's put one more in between here. Let's call that 1C, just because I don't like it having this tiny name. That bothers me. Okay, that's not good. Let's go make his butt touch the ground. I'm almost touching the ground. Do do do. And the tail's gonna drag behind just a little bit. Gotta love editing. There's a lot of tutorials on how to animate, and this is pretty rough, but the eyes are here, and then they're there. Do do do. Just keep your head up a little bit. Do do do. Oops. It's fine. I can erase it. It's a nice thing. It's digital. You can erase it. Take advantage of that. Okay. So he sits. That's better than before. The nose is kind of changing shape a little bit, so let's just fix that. Make sure that the proportions of this nose are relatively accurate so that when we color this in, it doesn't look like weak sauce. Okay, that's fine. Alright, so how do we color in this guy? Because we've animated him, but like, how do we color in? Because if I, you know, go here and go like, aha, I'm going to color it in. This is lasso fill, by the way. You can normally find this in here, but I copied this tool and I put it in the fill area because that makes more sense. So if you see here, like if I'm like, okay, I'm going to color him in. Yeah, he's colored, but you know, over here, he's clearly not colored. He's not colored in, like at all. That's not good. Also, apparently the thing is still referring to. Hey, you. Why are you referring to one thing and still? That's stupid. You should stop that. There we go. Sometimes you gotta break a thing and figure out how to use a thing. So, like, this frame's colored in, but not these. So how do we color it in? Well, the same way we animate, you know? We can make a new folder, and we can make a cell, and then bam. 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 Hey, check that out. You know, it's kind of animated being colored in. This is really roughly colored in, but it's fine. And we can even, if I shift click, we can lock all these layers. And then let's say I want to color in his nose, a black nose. Skip through, fill that in, fill that in, fill that in. Okay. He's got a black nose all the way through. That's pretty cool. Alright. Okay. So what if I want to make a shadow? Well, I can do the same thing as, you know, I did here and just painstakingly go through and do every single thing. So let's do that. Or we could save ourselves some time and just duplicate this. Drag that down. Let's just name that something easy, shadow. And check that out. It's got all the same frames. So we've hide this and we notice that's the same. Oh, it's gone. The same. It's back. Haha. So if we go through, we can like delete each frame instead, save ourselves a little bit of time. We can call this multiply layer. Let's choose a shadow color. Blue's nice. We have this. Okay. So we can shade it and try to like keep it all within that realm, you know. Let's lighten that up. It's like, okay, don't color outside the lines. Well, that's annoying. You know how you do that? You can actually clip animation folders to other animation folders. So check that out. Now all of a sudden, bam, you can't color outside the lines. That's not something you can actually do with normal folders even. If I try to do this with a normal folder, and I go, hey buddy, I'm a guy, you know? And then I try to make another layer on top of that, and I try to clip it to there, and I'm like, okay, I want him to have a white head. Oh, well that didn't clip. That didn't clip at all. Hey, it said to clip. Well, that's just how Clip Studio works. It doesn't want to clip to folders. But animation folders are different. It will clip to those. So you can go through and shade things. Oops. Reclip that. And shade things. And they're already locked to the filled in shit beneath it. That's cool. It's gonna look weird. That's pretty nifty. So yeah, that's actually a very handy feature. You don't have to like go through like a huge process just to make a mask or whatever and have that headache. It's pretty easy. Nice shaded. That's nice. We can of course like give him a background and stuff. You know? So that's cool. How about yellow trees? Because why not have this be garish and horrifying? Bam. He lives in a tree world. Yeah, check that out. Okay. Alrighty, we got a like cute little animation that pretty much anybody could do. In very little time. Okay. So here's one technical thing though that I want to let everybody know. If you're working in Clip Studio and you're like, hey, it seems to be like skipping a few frames or something on the playback. Well, I think that's just a problem with Clip Studio itself. Seems to have some problems sometimes on playback when the file gets too big. If the file's too big, after a little while, it'll just kind of drop frames. So what you want to do is go to File and Export Animation and export a GIF or a movie or whatever it is that you're planning to see it as. Export it, and then you can see it play as it was meant to be seen instead of having like weird frames drop out and you're like, but where I drew that frame, does this need more in-betweens? And it doesn't seem to get any better. You can, another way you can get around this is like kind of force it to re-render by going into Navigator and like flipping the scene and then playing, and it will like try to re-render the image. But I haven't found any really consistent way of getting it to like re-render frames. So the best, most consistent way is just to export it, and then you won't have that problem. All right. So yep. So we went over how to create a new timeline, which is here, and a timeline will help you. That's where what you want to do. Create this, and then you will be able to make an animation folder over here, and you want to make a cell, and in the cell you want to draw your oops, not clip that. You want to draw your guy, and then you skip forward a little bit and you make a new cell, turn on any skin, and you can make your guy, you know, and for however long these frames are, that's how long, how far apart they are, that's like how long the frame will last. You can play it. You can use hotkeys to flip between your frames, to create new frames, click drag to move frames around. You can put those frames other places. You can rename those frames by duplicating a frame. Put that there. Now it's unique from the frame it was. You can clip things. You can clip stuff to it. You can take a normal thing in this case. Give them a gradient. Now watch that. It's consistent all the way through. We can do the same thing over here. Give him a gradient. It'll stay. You can clip animation folders to each other. That's very useful if you're doing shading. You can scrub through, stuff like that. All very good. And that onion skinning is really good for reference. Sometimes it's not always good for getting a smooth feeling animation. So you flip back and forth if you want to animate without the onion skin and do in-betweens kind of more by eye. And you can go into Window, Animation Cells, click on whatever frame you want, and you can register a cell as the editing target in order to have that as a reference throughout your timeline. So yeah. Alright, so we've covered these basics. And now I'm going to open up the floor to questions. So any of our viewers, if you want to ask a specific question, please do. Is there a lightbox feature along with the onion skinning? That's the that's animation cells. It has a thing that calls itself lightbox, light table tool, but it's basically the same thing as onion skinning. It's just like onion skinning is the quick and dirty way to do it. And the light table here is more the refined thing where you can like choose specifically what cells you're going to use to look at as you're animating between. But I haven't gotten into too much detail with that. I'm still figuring that out myself. Alright, anything else? How does this compare with animating in Flash? Flash doesn't seem to have a flip feature where I can just automatically flip to the next keyframe, like in Clip Studio. But Clip Studio allows you to draw with raster-based brushes. Like, if you're comfortable drawing in Clip Studio, then this is like all the comfort of that, but then you're animating. Whereas Flash is all vector tools, and their vector tools are pretty limited. I could, let's hide all these. Let me just throw these in a folder real quick so that I can show you this. So like, let's say you want to like animate a painting or something really ambitious like that. You can do that using Clip Studio. You can like, you know, here I have like mysterious zoom bee, and you know, say I want it to, it's going, and you know, we have all these nice like painting tools at our disposal, and we can animate with those now. That's pretty cool. You can't do that in Flash. You kind of have to like, you can sort of do some things in Flash, but you're not actually painting in Flash. So kind of like organic blending is not something Flash can do. Also, Clip Studio has like, you can rotate the canvas. You can resize the brushes however you want. They're not limited in shapes or scale. It has like fill tool things. You can't do that in Flash. You can like draw an object and then fill it in Flash, you know, like that. But this is not a tool that exists in Flash. There's no lasso fill. One thing actually that is a big disadvantage in Clip Studio is there is no sound currently. I cannot import sound and then animate to talking, for instance. I'm sure they're working on that, but it's like for this version, we don't have that yet. Clip Studio updates very frequently. When you buy it, updates come so far like a couple times a year, and they always like have improvements on tools and new tools and stuff like that, all with like no extra cost. So that's very, very useful. So that's definitely better than Adobe's model, which is wholesale updating the program to like another version, and then you have to pay $50 a month in order to keep using the software. And so it's really expensive in the long run. And if you don't keep up with new versions, then you can't open old versions and you know, stuff like that. It's Adobe has a weird way they're trying to get money out of people. If I was to add sound, what program would I recommend? You could animate. You could potentially animate in Clip Studio and export it as whichever here, image sequence, animated GIF, movie. You can and then combine sound and animation in After Effects or Premiere, or any video editing software, and so you can have that happen. But if you really need to animate with sound, you could potentially do a rough pass in Flash initially. You could do a rough pass of your animation in Flash and then import it into Clip Studio in order to have like drawing tools that you prefer or whatever. And you could do this thing here where you can actually import movie. And let's just see if I can't find something real quick to import. Okay, well, for this thing's sake, let's just say we'll export this movie. Well, whatever. Export it as whatever. This frame rate's wrong. Make it the correct frame rate. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay. So then let's import a movie. Whatever. Alright. So now here's our movie. Let's drag this. So click, drag this over here. So I've got our movie, make sure it lasts long enough. And it's here. Okay, so we've just imported that. So if I hide actually what we were working on, you can see this plays. You could, I don't know, rotoscope it or something, if that's your bag. If that's what you want to do. I gotta rotoscope this black sperm. It's very necessary. I mean, that's one way to do things. I mean, obviously this is more useful if, say, I did this with like a human or something, but you know, you get the point. But otherwise I'd probably animate in TV Paint is something that I've used. I've used Flash. I've heard good things about Toon Boom. But yeah, if I were to say that they really need to do two things for this, they need to add a camera and they need to add sound. And then this thing will be gold. That'll be great. Those would be two features I really want. A camera so that I can like do like funky moves and like do really epic sequences and stuff. But if I want a camera move, I have to export this into After Effects or something if I really want that. Plan for that. Plan to take it into a different program. So thanks for coming and watching. I hope you learned something. And if you have Clip Studio, happy animating.